What defines a successful career for you guys? Man, what a debatable question. Am I right? Is it a certain amount of money? Is it working a certain amount of time? How many people you manage? Freedom to do whatever you want? Certain esteemed skill sets? Life fulfillment? Impact to others? Provision for your family? My guest on this episode at one point says, everybody that tells you finding success is glamorous and great, they're not telling you the whole story. I first met Jason at a conference, and he was up on the stage sharing a story about how he went on this hike with some friends. And the hike started out fun and exciting, and everyone was kind of in good spirits. But long story short, through a series of unfortunate events, the hike took a turn for the worse, where they ran out of supplies and got lost. And they ended up hiking to the point where they were like physically exhausted. And Jason said that he literally thought he was going to die on this mountain. Like he was thinking about like how his wife would be able to, raise the family without him. And there was a lot of speakers at this conference, but I distinctly remember Jason saying, if the only takeaway you get from this story and from me is remember that you were able to do more than you ever thought possible. He did make it out of the hike, but that stuck with me as something that I think we've all heard. Like, what is your limit? You can do more than you can think, but how often do we remember that? So I listen to these episodes many times. I'm currently editing and producing them myself, which has been oddly really enjoyable. Even now, there's something about finding your voice and thinking about what matters and how can I share this thought or message in my head and put it out in the space where people can listen. But as I've re-listened to this episode a couple times, I can't help but see the exact same similarities to this story of the hike into Jason's career and financial success, and how the road has been difficult, to say the least, for him, but how he continues to adapt, persevere, and figure it out. I'm really proud of this guy, and I'm certain you all will glean some valuable insights into how a hard road is certain to bring you success, not from the outcome, but from the process. Enjoy the episode. Juggling family responsibilities while dreaming of building wealth through real estate? Welcome to the Invested Fathers Podcast, where we explore how to balance investing and fatherhood. I'm your host, Kenny Johnson, founder of East West Capital. Over the past 5 years, I've been buying real estate to free up my time and secure my family's future. Now I'm here to help you do the same. Join me as we navigate the real estate world together, building wealth and strengthening our families. As my grandma always said, East West, home's best.
My son was a hard one. He was as hard-headed as they come. And now I can actually talk about stuff with him. Like today, I was like, hey, you need to buy a new oil filter. Your oil filter is been on way too long. He's like, how much are they? I was like, does it really matter? Because if you don't have it clean, like you're going to blow your engine. Like this is get the best one you can get. This is the thing you don't skip on.
Jason Wright, how are you today, man?
Doing great, brother. How are you?
Good. Thanks for being with us today. Jason, why don't you go ahead and tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
All right. I don't love talking about myself, so I'll give you the high level stuff and we can dig in wherever you want to.
Excellent.
I'm a guy that was running my own business in college while I was going to school, and that's what I loved. But everybody around me said, no, you need to get that degree. You need to go get a career and do all that. So reluctantly, I followed the advice of others, even though it went against kind of my soul and my direction. I made it about 7 years in corporate before quitting twice to work for myself. So it didn't work the first time. Not a glamorous story. A lot of butt kickings and failures, especially in those first 2 or 3 years. But I just wanted control of my time, man. I don't like waking up early. I like to sleep in.
Hmm.
I like to do stuff with purpose, and I don't like being limited creatively. And it took me a while to figure out that last part, but that's like the most important thing in the world to me. And I remember when Amazon was first a thing and the internet was first a thing, my mom and I always talked about these things early. That's going to take off.
Hmm.
And we were right about a lot of this stuff. And so 7, 8 years, I guess at this point, it's probably more like 10 or 11 years ago. I started thinking, man, it'd be really nice to just be able to work online for myself. There's a lot of people doing it. The first thing I ever did for money was on Craigslist. I rewrote some articles for a guy when SEO was in its wild west, and you could stuff the hell out of words and really help people's rankings. I rewrote 10 articles for $100, which was crazy to me that I actually got paid through PayPal. I was like, wow, you can actually make money online. So it's a bit about me. My company now, it's digital marketing. We've been focused on the sales funnel in one way or another for almost 9 years, but I work with a lot of real estate investors. I've worked with a lot of other niches as well. And it's really, I just like to make my own money and do it from anywhere in the world. And everybody that tells you it's glamorous and great, it's not telling you the full story. It's hard, man.
Hmm.
Been a hard year this year, but I'm not employable. There's nothing else I can do. I'm not a guy that is going to go work for somebody else, especially not now. I wouldn't even be able to take it seriously.
Yeah.
A little bit about me in a big messy shell there.
Yeah. No, I have a few things that I'm really curious about. One is you quit twice. So something didn't work the first time. You were determined to have some freedom of time. Were you just tired of working for someone else? I know you mentioned the creative sort of restrictions, but what was the main motivation behind, what was that why at that time? And has it been the same?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that got my attention first is I lived in Indianapolis, and I really spent most of my time out of college on the south side or south of Indy, about 30 minutes in a smaller town called Martinsville. And all the jobs were downtown or north side. So I was always commuting a lot. And I figured out pretty quickly, I'm not getting paid to commute, but always frustrated me. And then I would get in these companies and get in these roles in HR or sales or safety. And I would do everything they asked me to do. And I would want to do more. Let me do more for free. I don't need a promotion, and nobody would ever let me do it. And I was like, why won't anybody let me do more? And then eventually I was like, people are scared of me. People are like seeing me as a threat with the whole corporate ladder game. And they won't let me do more because they want to keep me in my box. I don't want to stay in my box. I want to help this company make more money. And I don't want anything from you. And people wouldn't let me do it. Wouldn't let me do it anywhere.
Mm.
So I was like, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. So the
And how old were you at that point?
22, 23, I was
That's
like,
great.
it's a big problem. This ain't going to work.
Okay.
I'm telling my wife this, and she's, what are you going to do? And I was like, I did landscaping for 7 years when we met. So I had 2 cars. Like for my age, I was like doing really good back then. It's like I could do what I wanted, how I wanted it, but it just wasn't something she took seriously. And I just really, the first time when I quit, what I did is I was making about 80,000 a year with bonus at that job. And I said, hey, I can sell these neighborhood magazines, right? And I explained the whole concept. They were real big at the time. And I think I can replace a monthly income in 3 months. And I wouldn't stop talking about it. All I did is talk about it. So finally, she's just quit and try, because if you don't, you're never going to stop. Like I can tell you're not going to stop. So I had money in the bank. I said, I think we have enough savings for 6 months. We were out of money in about 2 months, and I didn't make a dime with the new opportunity. So I quit my job. They'd give me benefits for 30 days. I had nothing to show for it. And in hindsight, I just made up that figure of I'll replace it in my income in 90 days. I have no idea where I came up with that. Like there's no math to support that. It was just something that I believed I could do for no reason. I just made it up. And
Yeah.
so very quickly, I was like, hey, we got a problem. I was like, we have bills, we have food, we have small kids,
Wow.
no money coming in. I don't know how we're going to buy groceries. Right. So I can figure something out for the bills, sell stuff, and do work in the neighborhood or something.
Yeah.
So I asked my mom's sister to help us out for 6 months and told her the whole scenario. And she was like, I don't believe in what you're doing. I think it's a huge mistake, but you have little kids and I can't stop thinking about those. So I'm going to help you with groceries for 6 months and then you're done. So 6 months came and went. I had to go back to corporate because I had made not enough progress. So it's making about $95 a week at FedEx. So trying to get the insurance, and we got the insurance. It didn't even help us for what we needed. So it was all a big waste of time.
Wow.
Back into CarMax. It was a great environment. They loved the fact that I was an entrepreneur trying to build something. They're like, yeah, just don't do it while you're here. And you didn't have time anyways. The problem was it was an hour away. So 2 hours driving minimum a day. And I didn't make enough money. I was like, I can't sustain this. I need something closer. So then I got a job selling publishing packages closer to home. I hated that job and made less money. And then the business was starting to get some traction. I could go to Upwork and Fiverr and consistently make a couple grand a month doing just odds and ends with marketing. Anything people wanted, I'd figured out. I'd do it. I'd let them know, hey, Kenny, you want to work in MailChimp, never used it. I'll figure it out. I'll deliver on what you want. Okay, fine. So I got paid on the job training just by being upfront with people, and I had no problems.
Yeah.
The last job I had in corporate was in a mortgage company. First boss I had was absolutely horrible. Guy hated me. I don't know why. He hated me. He wouldn't give me the proper training. He was just a jerk. So he traded me to another team. I was like, is this a normal thing? They're like, not really, but he's got a guy he didn't like. So he switched up. And my last boss was freaking awesome.
Okay.
And he's like, dude, I believe in what you're doing so hardcore. Like, just keep going here as long as you need to, then jump. So we got to a point, and I was back in corporate about 18 months after that first jump, but we got to a point where the business part-time income was exceeding the full-time income a little bit. And I was doing it on my own terms. I was doing it with ease. My wife's like, just quit and do this thing full time. You think there's enough there? I'm like, let's find out. So that was about 6.5 years ago. And I've been running ever since, but not a fun story. Family, neighbors said, you're going to fail. You're an idiot.
Yeah.
We tried to do it and we failed. So you're going to fail. You deal with all this crazy stuff. Real lonely journey. But I did have a couple buddies doing the same thing that are still in business as well. So there's a couple guys that we've been running together as friends, as entrepreneurs for years. It's pretty neat to see now, but not a fun journey at all.
Man, that does sound rough, especially the isolation. The average person would this is bad, but what else can I do? So I guess I'll just go back and stay. The good boss, the bad boss, I see it all had a plan.
Yeah.
That's awesome to see the network working of where you are today. And your wife seems like she was in your corner the entire time.
Yeah, what she would say is what most wives and moms would say. I believe in you because you believe in you. Like, I don't see the picture. Because she would say, what are we working towards? Like, I don't know. I don't know yet. Haven't figured it out. I couldn't even articulate what we were doing, not to any comfortable level. But she's like, I need you to remember, we need insurance and food. And we need to be able to pay the bills. My record was 9 late mortgage payments in a row, 9 months in a row.
Okay.
I had to pay a fee, but it never hit credit. It never hit 30-day late. I got 28, 29 days, but
Okay.
I sold guns, tools, ammo, did landscaping in the neighborhood, just prospected my face off between Facebook groups and Upwork and that stuff. So I would scratch and claw by it, but I was just like, I don't know how we ever get ahead with this. It took me a while to figure that piece out.
Okay. I want to shift here because the business side of thing, I think, is really important for our audience to hear. Where's this guy coming from? Has it been easy his whole life? Has he worked like a dog? So now that we know the low times of the business, you're still figuring out, articulating, what exactly am I doing here?
Yeah.
There are 2 kids at home.
Yep.
Okay. So you're also a dad the whole time. That you didn't take that hat off. Your kids are how old now?
My son is 18. My daughter is 13.
Okay. Teens. Well, way to go.
One just got out. Yeah.
You definitely get gold stars for just being here amidst those ages, because we know those aren't always easy. I have younger kids at home, so I have really no experience at all in what you've gone through. But talk me through the different stages of dadhood. Was there any like aha moments of, man, I'm not home a lot, or why I'm going through this awfulness? I'm sure there was curveballs along the way. Tell us something about that.
My daughter was born, I actually traveled for work. So when she was little, there was like 2 years where I was never home. Like, she was too young to remember, but I was never there. And I was like, I've talked to enough people who've done this their whole career. I do not want my kids to start calling me Jason instead of dad, because they don't know who I am. And my son was old enough that he remembers, and he was like, man, you're never around. And I was like, best money I can make is traveling. So that was a big red flag. I don't want to live this life. This isn't for me. I don't want to be away from not only my kids, but my wife. I'm in a hotel in a different state going, family's at my house without me right now. Does this really make sense? So that was a big motivated for me to figure something out. Along this journey, one of the things that I've been able to tell my kids that my parents couldn't tell me is my parents always said, "Hey, there's kind of one option with life, or you go get a degree and go this way." And I can say, "Hey, there's three options. There's you can start your business, you can go to a trade, or you can go to school." So I'm giving them the full picture of there's a lot of options. And I say, "Hey, look, here's my 2 degrees, here's my diploma. So I've done that, but look at what I'm building now." So I can actually speak from a place of experience. And that's something I try to do in life always. I don't
Mhm.
like talking theory. I don't like
Mhm.
paraphrasing what this guy's saying. So I think it's built in some credibility, at least to what I'm talking about with them for sure.
Yeah. And jumping forward to the 18-year-old, he's at a crossroads in his life. Before we recorded, you said he had just graduated. So,
Yep.
way to go, dad. Is he thinking a lot about his direction in life right now? How are you dadding him at this crossroads?
Yeah. So last fall, I was like, you should get a job. Like, you've got the time, you're not doing sports. So he got a job. And now he's got two jobs. He's got one's in Walgreens and one's outdoor working on a hobby farm. So he gets the physical labor piece and he gets the pseudo white collar piece. And he's talked about, I don't really want to go to college because I don't want the debt. So we've talked to our kids about money so much when they're young that he like looks at debt like it's a disgusting thing. He's like, I
Mm,
make good money. I've got cash in our safe, cash in the bank. I've got some investments. He's got some stocks and bonds. He's bought himself some crypto, which is neat. And I show him into the real estate and the silver and the different stuff we've got on top of that. But he's like, I think I want to go to a trade school because down here there's something called the Hope Grant. He can go for free, right? He can do a 2 year trade. And there's 220 options. And that gives me the ability to have more options than I have now. And it doesn't put me in debt. So
mhm.
he's thinking about things in a very different way than I did because he has a lot more education as far as financial education. I never had financial education in the home. Most people don't. They certainly don't teach it in school. I don't know. I don't know what his next step looks like. He threw I'm going to take a year off and think about it at me. And I was like, that's not what we do here. Wrong answer, buddy. He's at least staying productive with his time. That's really good. And I said, you know what, man? This pressure of you have to figure it out now. I didn't figure it out for 7 years after I got out of college. So
Exactly.
we'll never believe that.
I love he has obviously you can talk to him all day about different things, but he has seen you
Yeah.
over the last 18 years. And I'd love to think, rather in the back of his mind or his just hidden conscience, whatever, is seeing you scrap and do what it takes to get the family provided for. When the kids were younger, you were gone a lot. There's 2 years of you just working. So as a dad, part of me feels like the best thing I can give my son is my time. I just want to just sit and be with him all the time.
Yeah.
But I also have this sort of last 3 years I've been at my W-2. I've thought, does my son Moses, does he see me work? Does he actually, am I instilling in him a sense of like duty, of productivity? And I worked landscaping for almost 10 years, but the pendulum swung where I was like, I'm not doing landscaping. Like I'm hiring this out.
Yeah.
My time is worth more than, doing this thing. And, and now I've actually started going back to, I need to install these closet doors, or I need to cut back this bush, whatever.
Yeah.
Have you experienced any of that at all?
Yeah, I went through the same thing this year, actually. And it was really refreshing. We had a pool put in this year, in-ground pool, and it tore our yard up, right? We brought in 9 yards of dirt to backfill everything. And I decided to spread that myself. Oh boy. In the
9 years.
South Georgia sun, that is a experience. So then we got sprinkler repairs, which I had to hire out. Then we had 4 pallets of sod.
Ooh.
The day we got the sod, the day before when I was working out, I was doing some goblet squats with kettlebells. I heard something snap in my back, and I was like, that's not good.
That's not
Didn't
good.
feel any pain, but it's a recurring issue. So
Mhm.
day one, I get 30 minutes into this sod. I
Mm.
was like, my back's not out, but I need a cane to walk and I can't do anything else, but the
Mm.
sod's going to dry up. So I was like, hey, son, I need your help. And hey, daughter, and hey, wife, all of us worked our faces off, but
Oh, man.
looking at everything now, it's satisfying, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
showing the kids that not only can I work at this desk, but I can actually go out there and get
Mhm.
filthy, sweaty. And so I mow my own grass. I didn't last year.
Mhm.
Everything was farmed out. And I was like, I want that back. I do all
Mhm.
the pool maintenance. I
Mhm.
still change my oil in the driveway. I've only had my oil changed one time in my life. I still to this day change it because I don't trust anybody. So they see that mix of physical work and stuff. And again, it makes me feel better. I enjoy it. There's a satisfaction knowing it's done right, but they're watching. The scary thing is about kids, they watch and listen way more than you think.
Hmm.
And it can be bad, but you may hear your kids say something someday and you're going to go, "Where'd you hear that?" They're gonna be like, "I'm your son or I'm your daughter. You don't think I know how you do things?" And you're like, "Oh, wow, they really pay attention." Okay. And it's satisfying, you know?
The question I like to ask, especially your experience, you've worn a lot of different hats, especially some people get out of college and they're like, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be this, and they just know. I would call myself directionless out of college. I studied graphic design, but I
Yep.
realized the day I graduated, I really don't like graphic design, and I'm applying for these graphic design jobs. And I kind of hope I don't get it, because if I get it, then I'm stuck behind a computer. And so you're doing these different things. It sounds like you've settled in understanding your gifts and thrive zone. And this is
Yep.
what I like doing. We haven't talked too much about real estate. Are you buying rentals right now, or what is some of your real estate polls on
I'm
that?
just a passive investor in 2 deals. One's multifamily value add in Chattanooga, and one's a short-term rental fund. Like those asset classes, I'm starting to realize I like the passive route more. I
Hmm.
attempted to raise little capital this year. I didn't raise any money. And it's really because I didn't put the time and effort into it. This business is my baby. It's
Hmm.
been an interesting year. The market's changed a lot, so it's required a lot of my focus. So the capital raise I tried to do didn't go well. And I was like, I don't know that raising capital is really something I want to do. So I'm figuring that out, but I do like the passive investing. So I got other stuff I want to do with my time.
As you have settled into this is what I like doing, this is what I'm really good at. Has everything laser focused on your business, or is it like, hey, I can now relax a little bit because now that I know what I'm doing, I can start wearing these different hats? When you're in your 20s,
Yeah.
you're just working because you have so much drive to do what you need to do. 30s are a different story. Now you're 40s. Speak to my other investors out there who are maybe settling into what they want to do, but they're still trying to find more freedom of time or more focus of enjoyment.
Yeah, time's a big deal because something you'll see as your kid's age doubles. The one thing you're going to realize if you haven't already, and you just keep realizing it, you keep going, I knew that, but it still doesn't make it easier. Once the time is gone, you can't get it back. No amount of money can buy more time. You can't get back yesterday. So I'm a very forward focused person, but I'm also somebody that really is aware and appreciates the right now. Because let's be honest, this may be the last time you and I ever talk. Something might happen to one of us. None of that's promised. So you've got to make today count, right? So you asked about time. One of the things I did earliest in business, which was great, and there's somebody listening or watching is going to need to hear this, maybe more than one person, but I said, anytime I talk to a client, they're going to submit to my calendar. Why? Because I don't want to be available 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. This isn't corporate America, right? It's my business. I'm going to control my time. So if you want to talk, I'm not giving you my cell phone. You're going to use my calendar. We're going to use Zoom. Why? Because that's when I'm willing to talk to you, right? And we have some other tools like Slack and whatever, but I don't commit to anybody to be available nights, weekends, holidays. Actually, when we get off this podcast today, I'm taking my wife to Amelia Island, Florida for the rest of the day for her birthday. We'll be gone as long as we want to. At the end of the day, I have complete control of my schedule. Even if there's something scheduled, I can always cancel it. I'm not going to get fired. How am I going to get fired? But everything has a cost. Time, freedom, this whole idea of I'm going to do nothing and make all this passive money and have all this freedom, that exists to a point, but there's a cost to have that, right? So you have to be aware of the full cost with it. But we spend a lot of time relaxing. We work hard, play hard. Last week, as an example, I worked so hard, so many hours Monday through Wednesday. I was like, I haven't done this in 5 years a week. So I was like, I'm calling it. We're out of here. We have a team that helps out a lot, and a team can help you get your time back. But again, you got to train them, and it takes time to do it the right way.
You mentioned the cost. If we can elaborate a little bit on that, because it sounds like the cost is, hey, when I need to work, I need to work. Is that what you're talking about? Or are there other costs that come into play?
If you think about anything you do in life, there's a cost. It could be financial, it could be time, it could be fatigue, it could be
Mhm.
missing important events. I'll tell you, my daughter's in volleyball. If she has a game, everything takes a second to that game. I don't care what's going on. And that's the way it needs to be, because I'm going to blink and she's going to be 18. So it goes by too fast because my team works at different hours and they'll cover whatever needs to be covered. Anything in life, any decision you make has a cost, and it can be very small or it can be very major. Just some things I've been thinking about as I've gotten older.
The current status with, say, financial freedom, time freedom, sounds like not necessarily you've arrived and you're just done and everything is self-automated now, but you're much closer than where you were 10 years ago. What are some future thoughts that you're having? And specifically, we're talking business again, but the clarity, the focus of these are the things that matter.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you?
It's an interesting question because I've been thinking about this a lot lately. So we've been talking a lot about, from a high level, some of the costs or the dues I've paid to build what I have, whatever that may be. The thing I never thought about before this year was there's another cost to maintain and defend what you've built. That could be from competitors, the market changing, what the economy, all these factors. So it's okay. I really need to be clear that this is all this life thing, this dad thing, this business thing. It is a marathon. You've got to pace yourself. I don't care how much drive you have. You will burn yourself out if you're not careful. Those are the things I've been thinking about. How much energy do I want to put into growth and how much energy am I able to put into defending the empire as well? Because that is an important thing you got to focus on. Nothing stays the same. Markets change, relationships change, your interests change. That's why that creative freedom thing is so important. I may wake up in 6 months and go, man, I really want to go down this path because it feels good to my soul. And there's people that resonate with it. And we're going to do that now. Hey, Carmen. Hey, wife, guess what? We're going to do this. Okay. Off we go.
In light of defending, sustaining, maintaining this business that you've built, you might think, okay, my son potentially will help, or I have some partners over here who are doing things. I would consider you, Jason, like an expert in building teams, at least VAs. Your business is marketing, and you're not the one building the websites, I would think, and always building the active campaign, email blasts, and you have these automations. Our audience does not know. Your Loom videos are awesome. You are the Loom video king of just, you're there, your face is on the bottom left, and you are showing what needs to be done. And you can just use that a million times, but you only recorded it once. So in light of that scaling mindset and protecting your time, what are some challenges you faced, or what are you working on, or how has that looked for you?
Yeah. So a couple things there. The Loom videos are great, man. Whether it's training or educating or answering questions, like you say, if you do it generally enough, you don't say, hey, Kenny, you say, hey there, then you can repurpose it. And if you organize it well with Loom and folders and you can find it again, it saves you a ton of time. That's one thing. That's awesome. Recently, we started working, and so we've always worked in Active Campaign. We started working in Go High Level as well, which is a competitor CRM marketing automation tool, simply because the market demands it. Is one really give you an advantage over the other? Maybe not like you would think. It's really funny what people say versus what reality is. But anyway, I had to rebuild everything from scratch there, create all new videos for my team, all new videos for the clients. And that was last week. And it's holy crap, I forgot how much work it is to make 35 videos in a day that are educating people without overwhelming them. But I kept telling myself, bro, get this stuff done and it'll work for you the rest of the year. You don't have to do it again. That's one of the best ways to get time back, man. Something we don't talk about enough, but being able to build a team, a virtual team, is unbelievable. We have a Philippines-based team and we have a US-based team. And the client-facing team's all U.S.-based. It's all stay-at-home moms, almost all of them are military wives. We've got a Philippines team that'll work when we sleep, and they're great. Their English is great, but they're not client-facing, which is fine. They're project-focused and stuff. And it works out well, but we just don't have much turnover. We have tenure of 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, almost 2 years, and a couple newer, but people just don't leave. We have a freedom-first business model, which sounds really crazy. Want me to really blow your mind? And I say, hey, Kenny, how many hours a week do you want to work? What do you want to work up to? You might say, oh, maybe up to 10. Okay, fine. You can work up to 10 hours a week. You pick the days, the hours you want to work. You good with that? And if you don't have the right personality, it's too much freedom to deal with, and I'll never see you again. If you have the right type of personality, it allows you to create amazing flexibility in your own life. And that's our model. I don't manage people. I have all women on the team. And if they have an issue with each other, I say, work it out. I'm not here to do that. Or go tell your husband or go tell your brother. That's not what we do here. And they do. We have the right mix of personalities. It's very interesting, but trying to do anything, whether it's real estate or marketing or anything by yourself, is going to be much, much harder and limited in scale.
And have you ever considered, this is a little bit more business focused, but like a partner that just like someone that you can like a VP or a CEO or someone where this guy's going to manage everything and I'm going to be making sure I just talk to this guy and he does all stuff. Have you thought about that?
Yeah. So I pretty much do the stuff that I enjoy in the company and the stuff I don't want to do now. Somebody else does.
Okay.
I don't think I'd ever be completely hands off in this business. I get bored.
Yeah.
My wife be like, let's go lay on the beach all day. I'm like, how about we lay on the beach for an hour, then I drown myself because that sounds so boring. So
I love that.
I'm involved because I like it. And with my
Yeah.
name attached to it, I'm not a control freak at all, but I have an eye for the details, and it would just crush me if we started putting out junk or something like
Yeah.
that. But
Understood. It's your baby.
yeah, and I've got to be, I don't sit around. Like I've got to be doing something productive daily. That's which keeps me happy, which keeps me motivated. I would lose my mind without it, really. I wouldn't know what to do. I just go start another business. So
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. You might just start something new. The podcast is called The Invested Fathers. The play there is we invest our money, but also energy, time. You mentioned going to your daughter's volleyball games.
yeah.
How are you investing with her right now? And how have you been able to connect and be a dad for her?
Yeah, for the easy part for me was like your experience. She was a daddy's girl. Like I think her first word was daddy.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
she always deer hunted with me, fished with me, rode the lawnmower with me. She started driving a golf cart at about 5. We did a lot together when she was young, and her interests have changed. Now
Mhm.
we'll swim together, jump in a hot tub, or cook together, stuff like that. We do a lot of concerts. So if you're on Facebook with me, you're like, God, these guys do anything but go to concerts. We do a lot of concerts. Country concerts are what we like. It's a lot of fun though, because they're experiences. At the end of your life, no one cares what stuff you have or don't have. It's about the experiences. So we focus on that a lot more. And now it changes. She's older and she's got a boyfriend and stuff, but she's got volleyball and we still have some common interests. They change, but we're still pretty close. When she's
Awesome.
not being overly emotional and crying for no reason, we get along pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
No, and I know you are a big hobby guy. Like you mentioned the
Yeah.
music, the guns, the
Yeah.
fishing. Has that been just such a joy to share those things with your kid? Are your kids interested in your hobbies or are they,
Yeah.
Dad, you're weird. I want to do video games over here. Like, how has that come into play?
Yeah, so when they were little, both of them were interested in the hunting and the fishing. I can get both of them actually to go fish with me out back now. If I catch them when they're not doing anything, I can still get them to go fish, which is awesome.
Yeah.
The hunting, they don't really care about now. They still do like to shoot guns. My son's got a little bit of an interest in the bourbon. I'm like, easy, son, easy now. So that's cool. But the hiking and kind of the domestic travel that I enjoy, they like that too. Because when we moved from Indiana to here, I was like, hey, when you say we can't move 1,000 miles away, that's too far. We just did it anyway. You say you want to quit your job, I just did it anyway. So like the point I try to make by living the way we do is anything you can be done and nothing's as hard as it seems. And I'm going to show you that because we're about to do it. So
Hmm.
we jump right in with my son. The entrepreneurship this thing is interesting. Yesterday, hey, I've made this much money year to date. I'm like, sweet. How do you feel about that? I feel good. And I was like, I made that much money yesterday. And he goes, crazy to me. And I said, I've got bills and team and that type of stuff, but remember it's possible. Just remember it's possible. And I said, I know friends that make that like an hour. You know what I mean? So just
Right.
understand the different levels to things. And then I go, you see the cost, you see the reward of it as well, but don't ever think that the nursery and Walgreens has to be your life.
Mm.
You want to be lazy at your life, but if you don't like it, change the variables, do something different. So
Mm.
I try to make those kind of connections with him every chance I get.
And so he was coming to you as like, hey, Dad, look what I've accomplished. This is a good thing. Is it a good thing? But he brings it to you and you somewhat put him in his place a little bit. Hey, this is not necessarily in a mean dad way, but just, hey, I made that yesterday.
Yeah.
And maybe a perspective shift happened of just like, oh, shoot.
The other part I didn't tell you is I said when I was your age, dude, I was making $6.50 an hour changing oil. Like you're years ahead of me. You make
Yes.
more money, you have no debt, you have savings, you have
Yes.
a parent that's opened your eyes to all of the options. And I'm not mad at my parents. They just didn't get it. So I
Yep.
said,
Right.
you want to compare 18-year-old to you versus me? Dude, you're murdering me. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to let you know what's possible. So
Right.
it's never, you're not where I'm at. That's never, and it's never taken that way. He gets it.
Mm.
But yeah, when I look at where he's at, I'm like, dude, you're doing so well. Don't screw up on something. Don't blow your money on something stupid or whatever. Just keep doing what you're doing. rinse and repeat every day. And what you said was hard a month ago becomes normal and it's no big deal. And that's what's happening.
No, Jason, thanks. Thank you for sharing that. Boy, there is a mix in my world of the affirmations helping my son, and everyone's son and daughter are different. If I tell everyone, hey, you better give your kid the most 100% love ever and always affirm everything they touch and never say something negative, that'd be stupid. We want to find that balance. What can our kids handle? We want to keep pushing them. You can obviously push too hard and they become resentful or something like that. And then you even mentioned your dad. Like it wasn't like your dad was trying to withhold like information from you, but he did the best he could and taught you things. And there were struggles that you had. And ultimately, I would say you are who you are today from a result of your parents' upbringing. And then you just decided this is what I need to do. And you just went.
Yeah, it's
Um,
interesting. So we haven't got into this, but I will because I think it'll be
Please.
the audience. But so my dad is a nice guy, but I'm as close to you as I am my dad. Never been close. So my parents divorced when I was 4. He liked to have a good time, but he was not a hard worker, right? Has no career to put
Mhm.
to his name. He's got Alzheimer and dementia now. So our last lucid conversations behind us, but always a nice guy. But even as a young kid, I was like, this guy doesn't try very hard. Like I picked up on that at 4 or 5.
Wow.
My mom and my stepdad were hard workers, but they were so busy with work that I did a lot of the raising of me on my own.
Hmm.
So for me, a lot of like my dad guidance was like, do the opposite of what was done to me or do this instead of that. And I'll figure it out on the way. It's been interesting. I had a grandpa, like a step grandpa that was distant as well. So father figure wise, I'd find what I needed in other people, neighbors or other people in business, like when I needed, but then coaches, things like that. But then once I got old enough, I was like, as weird as it sounds, my need for a father, those days are behind me
Hmm.
because I'm my own father, as weird as that sounds, but I'm not resentful. I'm not sad. I'm not upset. It crafted me into who I am today. So it's just your journey is supposed to happen to you. It's the good and the bad makes us who we are.
We probably should have started with that question in regards to like father figures because those formative years, there's a sense of duty and working, but there's also a sense of loving
Yeah.
and caring and child rearing. You had two dads, but both seemed absent. My dad had a conversation with me one time and he said there was a time when I would call my mom or call my dad and I would ask them advice or thoughts. But
Yeah.
somewhere around 30s, he realized
Yeah.
he knew the answer of what he was looking for and it was more just moral support. So you're 42 now. It's not like you're missing this dad figure that's needing to coach you like you are with your 18-year-old.
Yeah.
But where are you finding support or mentorship now at this
Yeah.
stage of your life?
Other guys in my same boat, really. So it comes down to your buddies, right? So you got other people similar age to me, have kids of different ages. That's really the support system now. Because once you get to where I'm at, you have kids still in the house and you have parents that are aging and dying and losing their minds. So you're like in this in between where you become the expert to the little people and the older people who can't
Yes.
see clearly. So it changes. And that's where we're at. We've been there for a number of years and it's fine. It's just a transitional time. So you'll get that at some point as well. But I'm enjoying it, man. You go with your gut and your compass and you know what's right and what's wrong. And you're going to make mistakes and that's part of it. You never claim to be perfect. And every kid's so different. Like my son required a lot of iron fist to get him in the straight and narrow growing up. And he doesn't need that now.
Mhm.
He needs me to ask him questions for him to think
Mhm.
about what he's talking about in a different perspective. And I say, it's your life, buddy. You decide.
Mhm.
So my daughter was always the much easier kid and doesn't require that iron fist at all.
Mhm.
Even a loud voice or a firm conversation can break her to this day. You don't want to break them for no reason. So they require different stuff. It'll change as they get older as well. Someday we'll be the experts when they have babies, and someday we'll be the people losing our minds and they'll float us down the St. Mary's River out to the ocean when they don't want to deal with it anymore.
Jason, I appreciate all the insights today. Just have two more thoughts for you. First
Sure.
would be advice to investor parents
Yeah.
today. Leave us with some nuggets if you would, and then I'm going to ask about just how can our audience connect with you.
Sure. So for investor parents, this is advice both for investing. Ooh, scary advice from Jason. Not only in real estate, but investing in your kids is start as soon as you can and be patient, right? Good stuff with investing. I know hundreds and hundreds of people that invest, maybe more. Doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes time. generally anywhere from years to, in some cases, longer, decades, right? There's market cycles, there's bad investments, there's things that happen. But like anything good in life, whether it's a good bourbon, good cigar, good friendship, it takes time. It takes time. So start early and be patient.
Excellent. And tell us just, you mentioned your different businesses, but if our audience wants to look into what Jason's doing, how could we follow you or connect with you?
Yep. Go to the website, intentionallyinspirational.com, and that gives you a pulse of everything we're into.
Excellent. Jason, thanks for your time today, man. Have fun in Florida, and appreciate you making time on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Invested Fathers Podcast. If you liked this episode, we would love for you to click subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. We appreciate all of your hard work as a father and look forward to our next episode together.